who has joined us. We have some markers up here.
You know what? I didn't know there was gonna be dry erase boards, so I just use that.
No? I don't know if there's markers for drivers.
There's one on that
There's
middle
that,
one.
That one will
The
do.
black, okay, that one will do. Awesome. So Hannah Erskine this year was at the Life Learning Center. And so please give it up for Hannah.
Hi, everybody. I am Hannah Hersko. I served as a life coach and classroom facilitator at the Life Learning Center. Before we really talk about what I learned, I need some help from all of you to help me solve a problem. So we're going to use this tool that I like to call the circle of influence and the circle of concern to look at this problem I have. And this tool is usually used as like a stress management tool. If you have something that's really concerning you and super stressing you out because you feel like you have no control over it, has anyone ever felt like that about anything? Yeah, like a lot over here. Okay, thank you. So, so this is a personal concern. So I have a personal concern of my roommate is in a emotionally abusive relationship. It stinks, that really stinks. So my big concerns with this problem here is, one, I'm really concerned about her emotional well-being, right? Because I care about her a lot. But I'm also concerned about the state of her and I's relationship, being as she's become so isolated, and it's pretty well known that I'm not a fan of her partner. So those are my two big concerns. So I'm wondering from you guys, I know what I don't have control over in this situation. I can't magically make them break up, right? Yeah, has anyone ever tried to do that? And it like doesn't really work. Like we don't live in the movies. So I can't make them break up. I can't make her partner stop being an abusive person, right? Those things are completely out of my control. But, so I'm wondering, what are some things I can do to help ease my concerns? You can shout out. And there's no right or wrong answer, right? There's all kinds of things we can do. Okay, so supportive. What does that look like?
Hugs and
Okay.
movie nights.
Hugs, movies, okay. Anyone else?
I was gonna say something similar, maybe like invite her out of the house to do things.
Okay. Anybody else?
Get her to just reflect on her goals in life and herself.
So like maybe some conversation, some questions.
On the other extreme end, sometimes you have to get a new roommate, or like the situation, like you can't change the situation, but it's also, not healthy
Maybe like
by
treat her
extension.
out. Hey, we're not saying this is right or wrong, right? But it is something I could potentially do. I could move out. That's something within my control.
Along those lines, you could also ban her partner from your house.
I could at least say that. Okay. Anybody else?
Like totally wrong to do, but you could always set her up on a blind date. I'm just saying that would be totally wrong.
Okay. So, some other things I could do is maybe, I have another friend who got out of a really abusive relationship not very long ago. Maybe I could have us all hang out together and they could talk, right? Anything like that. So all of these things, there's a lot of options, right? There's infinite options. These all fall into this circle that I like to call the circle of influence. So here's our circle of concern, and all of the things that we do have control over are in our circle of influence. And so ideally, the bigger your circle of influence gets, i.e. the more things you can do or think of to do, the smaller your circle of concern will get. Does that make sense? So, ideally, right? Because after all, we don't truly have control over everything. So, you're probably wondering, what have you actually learned this year besides some self-help tools and things like that, right?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Siri didn't catch that.
So, when I was thinking about the ways I've grown this year, it was really hard to nail down because it was kind of like, you know, when you were a kid and you like go to that once-a-year family event and all of your relatives are like, oh my gosh, you look so different, you're so big, you've grown so much, la la la, all of this sort of stuff, and you're like, I mean, like, not really, I look the same, right? But you see yourself every day, and other people looking in might see you differently. But I found it really, really hard. I know I've changed, but I found it really hard to track that progress. So the light bulb for me was thinking about influence, kind of coming back to this tool. When I was doing life coaching at the Life Learning Center, and you know, I probably didn't start coaching people on my own until like 5 months in, because there's a lot of soft skills with it that need to be learned. And I was really nervous. I mean, like most of the people were like twice my age. What do I know? How am I going to do this? And everything went really well. I had a really great experience. And you know, on my last day at the LLC, so many candidates were telling me, you know, Hannah, this place is really, really losing someone really valuable. You've changed my life. All that sort of stuff. That made me feel really good, but I went home thinking, like, that doesn't settle well. Like, I didn't change anyone's lives, right? I worked really hard, but I saw those people work really, really hard to change their lives. You know, I was in, like, a classroom with them 1 day a week and one-on-one coaching for, like, an hour a week. Like, I did not change their lives during that small frame of time, but they did. So I'm thinking I influenced them, right? And so I'm wondering, out of all the things I've done in my life, why does this work? Why is my influence so impactful in this situation? What makes it different than all sorts of other endeavors I've done where there hasn't seemed to be as much of a meaningful change? So that really got me thinking, and I sort of think that it is the result of intentional influence, which I don't think I had ever really tried to think about before. So sort of this like result of all the things I've learned about myself this year and my new skills. So like, what have I learned about myself this year? I think I really truly learned what my values are. And if I had to pare it all the way down, I'd say my 3 top values are accessibility, everyone having the same access and opportunity to things, connection, whether that's between people, like an emotional connection, whether that's finding the connection between different concepts, things like that, and discovery. I'm really into discovery, awareness, and that whole experience. I discovered that my strengths, empathy is one of my strengths. That might not be surprising to some of you, but like I was really surprised. Like, I would have never thought of myself as an empathetic person before I did this year. I realized that my intuition, especially when it came to coaching, was really strong. And I realized that I'm really good at activating things, like getting things started. I'm the person, you might not always see me at the finish line, but I'm always the person, you know, putting out the starting gun, right? And you know, I figured out kind of what my purpose is. My purpose is to use these values and these strengths I've discovered to really help facilitate understanding within people. And that can look like all sorts of different things, right? So learning about yourself is really, really important. And that's all good. I've been a self-help junkie my whole life. Every assessment under the sun, I've probably taken it, right? And like knowing all these things is great, but the thing I've really discovered this year is using that self-knowledge to create intentional influence. That's leadership. So if I know those things about myself, now I can be intentional about the way I try to influence things. If I think about, we can think about all sorts of things to put in this circle of concern that we probably all share, right? Things like racism, transphobia, right? We can go on and on and on and on and on. These are all really big concerns, and we can't all influence in the same way or magically decide, you know, control, okay, this thing's over. But what are the ways we can influence them, and what are the ways you know you can intentionally influence things so you can be more selective about the approach you take? And that's something I have been thinking about You know, not only I knew that I should be influencing things, but now I really know that I can, and in what ways I can do so to the best impact. Thank you.